Reviewing new TV shows, we keep it real. Reminiscing the attitude era, wrestling at its peak. Nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, memories we seek. Pineapples for our rings, a unique touch. Geek culture in our blood, we love it so much. Geek Blue forever, we love it so much. Geekblur, where we talk about it all, from superheroes to wrestlers. We stand tall, Ray and Kevin, the dynamic duo in sight. Geekblur, shining bright, shining bright. Did you hear about Pluto? That's messed up, right? Geekblur, taking you on a nostalgia flight. From movies to TV, we cover it all. Join us and every week we'll have a ball. Shuffle.
Hey, what's going on?
Raymond, how's it going?
Doing good.
I gotta tell you something. This
What's
is
going
kind of
on?
an impromptu fat fuck session. I
Okay.
forgot to tell you to get the sounder ready, so we'll just pretend the sounder played. But I
Okay.
went to Popeyes
Okay.
and had their pickle something chicken sandwich. It basically is like
Yep.
a red spicy-ish pickle sauce on it.
Yeah. I
Would
knew
not
that was
recommend.
the thing they're
Would-
doing. Okay.
Would not recommend. Secondly,
I knew they had
we went to-
I knew
we
they had a
went to-
pickle menu now.
Yeah. They also have fried pickles there, but they're running. It was the worst Popeyes experience ever. It took me literally like an hour to order and get my food. The other thing, so we went to the movies yesterday.
Yep.
We will be discussing that.
Yep.
You got popcorn, but no drink.
Yeah, I did.
That was very concerned. Did you get a drink?
Yeah, I did. I had a
Okay,
drink.
I didn't see you with a drink. It must have been on your left because I saw you eating popcorn. I didn't see you sipping a drink, and I'm sitting there, I'm like downing my Pepsi because the fucking popcorn's so goddamn salty.
It was very salty.
It was
They-
extremely salty popcorn.
Yeah, they go a little heavy with the salt there. But
They
yeah.
do. They do.
We did see a couple movies. Actually, we both saw a couple movies. You saw one earlier in the week we're going to talk about as well. We saw a great movie yesterday we're going to talk about. Probably my favorite movie of the year so far. We're only 4 months in, but let's get started with the finale of Daredevil Born Again. Show is good. Not on the level of what Netflix was.
Nah.
We kind of knew that going in. It was probably going to be Disney-fied. We knew that. There was a really cool gruesome scene in this show, though, in this episode. Kingpin crushed a guy's head, the commissioner of the police department, actually. And the scene was gruesome and brutal. And they showed the prosthetic head that they used that they ended up using it for the crushing scene. It looked real. It reminds you a lot of the Kingpin of old, where he cut the guy's head off with the door in first season of Daredevil. I think it was first season, but a lot of great stuff. NYC by the end of this is now under martial law. Vigilantes are being hunted. Matt Murdock needs to recruit, quote, an army before they storm the castle. I figured maybe we would see some of the Defenders maybe by the end. Quick cameos. Didn't see that. Everybody's saying, oh shit, we should see Spider-Man. He's being hunted now. He's in the vigilante. We're not going to see Spider-Man, unfortunately. The showrunners are saying we're not even going to see the Defenders, but I think they're kind of distancing themselves from that. We'll see what happens. So there's going to be a season 2, filming it currently. We did get an after credits scene. We saw Frank Castle. He has been detained by Kingpin in a little jail cell where all vigilantes are being held, including him and the swordsman and a few other people running amok in the city. But he attempts to escape Kingpin's jail for vigilantes, and that's where the show leaves off. And we already know that this is probably going to lead to the Punisher special presentation that they're going to be filming and releasing, I believe, next year before season 2 comes out, or around the same time. But yeah, great ending. Probably one of the better episodes this season. Makes you definitely want to see how much of the story is being held back, because there's a lot of stuff that was left unanswered. And the big thing is, like we've been mentioning throughout the whole entire season, is Foggy Nelson really dead? If you're going by comic book lore, and the showrunners have said that they are listening to the fans. They've seen that theory. They're not commenting on it. So we'll see if it comes back to that or not. But yeah, great show, great ending. Have you had a chance to watch Mobland yet?
I haven't watched it yet. No.
Oh my god, what a great fucking crime drama! This is on Paramount Plus. I'm not going to talk about it much until you watch it, but Tom Hardy is great in this show. We know Tom Hardy's great in anything, but he's great in this show. UK mob family. He's kind of the cleanup guy working on. He's not a part of the family. He's kind of the cleanup guy that they hire to come clean up messes. And the head of the family is Pierce Brosnan. And Helen Mirren is his wife, and they have Patty. I can't remember his name is, but he's the father in Game of Thrones. He is one of the sons. It's a great show. Paramount Plus. They're 3 episodes in right now. Hello, Kitty. 3 episodes in right now. They air on Sunday. They are on
son of a bitch.
Hello,
okay.
Kitty.
All right, Cat.
He
hasn't seen me in a week, so he's freaking out. It's okay, buddy. Here, go fucking take a shit or something. All right.
The studio. Good episode. This is a great show. If you have not
This is
watched
an awesome episode of the studio.
Yep. Last couple episodes have been really, actually the whole series so far has been pretty good up to episode 5 right now, but great show. It airs on Tuesdays, I believe.
I thought it dropped Wednesdays.
Maybe Wednesday, I can't remember. But yeah, great show. You should be watching it. It's very funny. Seth Rogen. I mean, just classic Seth Rogen. And we got a premiere this week, a TV premiere of The Last of Us season 2. 7 episodes total this season. We know now that probably this season is going to be adapting the first half of the video game at least. There's going to be a 3rd season, probably doing the other half. Game comparisons and speculations. Now, spoiler for the next minute. We already know the big spoiler that happens in the beginning of the game is probably going to either happen in the next episode or in episode 3, and Joel is going to be murdered by Abby. In fact, the social media game for them is crazy because they even posted a picture of
the golf club
choice.
Yep.
So as far as the game, I know you've played. I haven't even opened part 2 because I never finished part 1 of the game. What are your thoughts going forward of how they're going to handle the next 6 episodes of the show and how they're going to tackle this big arc that's going to happen?
One thing that pissed me off is like the first scene in this episode is Abby talking about getting her revenge, and basically you find out what her motive is, which you don't find out until about 10 hours into the game. Like that's like a big driving force that get you to keep playing, is to find out who she is. So they clearly changed that up a bit. And there was no therapist in the game either. Seeing this play out, they could drag the Joel thing out till mid-season, maybe like sometime in episode 4 if they wanted to. It depends on how they're structuring the second half of the game or how they're going to do season 3. Because I feel like we will have a flashback episode. We talked about that on text. Maybe that could be episode 3 to stretch it out so you get Joel for one more episode or something.
I think so.
That could happen also. But I mean, I kind of trust him because the first season was very good and very well paced. Outside of the end of the first season was weird because like that's such a long part in the game, and in the end of the first season, it's like literally like 15 minutes. But yeah, interesting to see what they do.
We know that the husband that the therapist was talking about, who's played by Catherine O'Hara, the husband is played by Joey Pants.
Right.
Who's in everything. He's in The Matrix. He's in Sopranos. He's in everything. So we know for sure there's a flashback. We're just not sure where the placement's going to be. And it's going to be pretty much where Joel and Ellie had the falling out. If I were to guess, it maybe after he gets attacked. It'll be like the end of an episode will be where he's attacked. And then we'll get the flashback. And then we'll get the aftermath at the end of that episode.
Maybe, they could do that.
Yep. But yeah, there's a big spoiler about to happen. Let's just say Pedro Pascal is going to have a lot of free time on his hands. He won't have to do The Last of Us anymore. But yeah, great show
I
so far.
guarantee
Only
they
one
bring him
episode in.
back for flashbacks or something in the
Oh,
next
definitely,
season.
definitely, yeah,
But yeah,
yep, for sure. And there's no talk of a third game, correct? So this is
yeah, he actually said that he's not planning to do a third game, and I guess the second
Right.
game, which I haven't finished yet, the second game ends on a somewhat of a cliffhanger. So
okay,
we'll see.
interesting. Yeah, well, yeah. I hope we're not in Game of Thrones territory where
Yeah.
they have to go to the next season without a ending, but
Yeah,
without a planned ending. But Celtic City, episode 7, into the 90s, the turbulent 90s. Building the franchise after Larry Bird leaves, talking about Reggie Lewis, part of the Boston community. He grew up in the
Mhm.
area, so he's very much part of the city. Mikhail, Parrish, both leave. Mikhail retires, I believe. Parrish goes to another team. And the Boston Garden, big part of this episode.
Yep.
Talking about it being torn down in 1996, 1995.
Yeah,
the center opening.
Parrish went to the Bulls and won 2 more championships before he retired. He was
Okay.
on those early '90s Bulls teams that won
that's
2
pretty
back to
good.
back. So,
Yeah, that's good. Good timing. Rick Pitino, the 1996 takeover. I wanted to ask you about him and what your thoughts were of Rick Pitino.
I like him now. He seems like he's like actually like was like, yeah, I fucked up. The way he sounded in this documentary, because he even said himself a bunch of times that he was just kind of full of himself, and all the
Yeah.
players were saying the same thing. But I'll never forgive him for trading Chauncey Billups literally like 40 games into his rookie season, and now he's a Hall of Famer with multiple rings.
Wow.
So that was, and he kept Ron Mercer, the later draft pick. So I was, yeah, he took all the, I mean, Red pretty much didn't have much power anyways, but he took his
Yeah.
title away from him, which like I think it was Jackie McMullen said that he didn't have to do that. But yeah, Rick Pitino.
Yeah. Red Auerbach taking a step back.
Yep.
Kind of getting out of the limelight at the end of the 90s. And Paul Pierce being drafted. Big part of the next championship run that happens in the 2000s. I know that.
Mhm.
Also talked about him being stabbed, and that's where the next episode's going to pick up.
I can't wait
We're
for
going to
that.
be getting
Benzino
into the
stabbed him.
championship. We're going to be getting into the championship run of the Celtics in the next couple of episodes. I think there's 2 episodes left. So around 2000. When did they win their next title? Was it mid 2000s? 2008.
2008,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. So we're going to be talking about that pretty soon. I think next episode, and then probably the next episode after that, we'll talk about the current team. So very exciting. Before we end the 90s, the turbulent 90s ended with a team that's kind of in turmoil because they didn't have star players. They lost Reggie Lewis. He had a cocaine problem as well, surprising. But the first one that died from cocaine was Len Bias. We talked about him for a few episodes before this, and there was a documentary that came out in 2009 on ESPN. You recommended I watched it.
Mhm.
This had his family on it, which was not on this documentary at all.
His mother was on the Celtic City one. I believe his
Okay.
father has since passed, but they really didn't
Okay.
go into as much of Bias as I thought they would have.
No. But it did kind of fill in some of the gaps,
Mhm.
especially with his family. His brother was a big part. His brothers
Yep.
were a big part of that. His family was a big part of it. But pretty good. It's only like 50 minutes, so it's really,
Yeah.
really good. Filled in some of the gaps of the stuff that wasn't told on this documentary. So the
Mhm.
Celtic City documentary, if you want to know the basics of this team, the
Yeah.
history, go on HBO and just stream the hell out of this show. It is great. And I'm not even a sports fan, really,
Mhm.
but I love history, and that's why I love shit like this. And that's why I like documentaries like the next one we're going to talk about. This came out on that's the Without Bias documentary. This came out on Netflix, I believe, last week. The Clubhouse, a year with the Red Sox. I believe this was the answer to The Comeback, the documentary that came out. It was all about the 2004 Red Sox, which was
Yep.
probably great on ratings. So they wanted to take a modern look at the Red Sox now, currently, who are not great. They are on the bottom.
No, they are not great at all.
So it's very surprising. They even say it in one of the episodes of the documentary. It's like, why the fuck would the Red Sox? Hello, Kitty. Why the hell would the Red Sox do a documentary when they're this bad? Why would they want to show their weakness?
I think part of
we
it was
watched-
20 years after the 2004 championship. I
Right,
think that's why.
right.
Yeah.
And I think, like I mentioned, I think the documentary that came out last year probably did great numbers for Netflix. So they said, why don't you guys record the rest of your year with a new team and see how it is. Very surprising, but first episode's pretty good. My big takeaway from this is this team looks like a parody team of Red Sox players.
Yep.
Like, I don't know anybody anymore. And I remember everybody back in the day. Even I wasn't even into baseball that much, but I knew everyone.
Yep.
All these kids are kids. They don't look like they should be on the team. They were all born like 1996, 98, 2000. Yep. So, but yeah, this is called The Clubhouse, a year with the Red Sox. Alex Cora, he runs the team. He's general manager currently, I believe still. A couple of players I never heard of. Tristan Cassis, he's the main guy. I guess he's kind of the head of the team. I have no idea.
Yep.
And Jaron Duran.
Duran,
had a whole
yep.
episode of Duran. Had a whole episode about him. Cam Boozer. There was a great episode.
I like that. I really like that story.
Yep.
Cam Boozer, 31 years old, never played in the major leagues, got called up last year. That was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. I like that story too. But yeah, this is a decent documentary if you want to know anything about the current Red Sox organization. I know we only watched half of it. We're gonna watch the other half and talk about it next week. But I know the season didn't end well. So interesting to see where this second half goes. Yeah, the team is not great right now. Baseball's not great in general. Besides Aaron Judge, I can't tell you another. and what's I don't even know his name.
Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, the other guy. I can't even tell you his name off the top of my head. But yeah, I know he's great. But and we watched a baseball movie, which was okay, called Game 6. This came out in 2005, starring Michael Keaton, Robert Downey Jr., Catherine O'Hara. It was okay.
It was boring.
Not
as shit.
Great. Very boring.
I was bored.
Very boring in the beginning. But the ending, the last like 30, 40 minutes, kind of had the in 1986 Red Sox Mets rivalry and the Buckner fumble and all that stuff was all part of the storyline of what was going on. And with that happening, it kind of turned Michael Keaton's character into a murderous rampage. Kind of. It's just a very boring movie. But I wanted to watch something that was kind of Red Sox related since we're talking about Red Sox this week. But I think next week we're going to watch The Babe. I never saw that with John Goodman. And I believe that's it for the month because I think next week's the last week of April. Yeah, some great movies, baseball movies. We're gonna talk about The Babe. I never saw that. Dark Side of the Ring. Were you able to catch up on the 2 episodes we missed last week?
Yes, I was. Finally, updated them.
Finally, iTunes straightened their ass out. We did see the Big Van Vader episode. Great episode. Leon seemed like he had a lot of issues, mental stability issues. He was a football player, I believe, became a wrestler, went over to Japan and created this monster-like character, Vader, and came over to America, worked for WCW, worked for WWF. Did not get along well with a lot of people, including Shawn Michaels, who said he smelled when he wrestled him.
Yep.
Great documentary talking about him. And the next one, oh, fuck. Tony Atlas. We know he's crazy. We've seen him in interviews. We've seen him talk about shit. This one talked a lot about his foot fetish.
Yeah.
And he talked about it not being really a sexualized foot fetish. It was more of him just like to get stomped on. And it wasn't like in the nuts or anything. He just likes women with women's shoes stepping on his face, on his body. Weird fetish.
Yeah.
Weird, strange guy. But he went through a lot of hurdles. Right. But he went through a lot of hurdles in the 80s to become one of the most prominent African-American wrestlers, and especially in the early 80s, teaming up with Rocky, or with the Rock's dad, Rocky Johnson, and being tag team champs. Talking a lot about that and a whole bunch of other stuff with him. He lives in Maine currently, Auburn, Maine. He has a wife that lives in a nursing home, but not really his wife. I don't think they were ever legally married. It's kind of just like a Cracker Jack.
They were
Cracker Jack ring.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, he does take care of her. He goes in there every day, cooks for her, and takes care of her, bathes her, as he says. But this is a good episode too. Great episode. We always talk about every season of this. How can they find new material to talk about? They seem to be able to get a 40-minute episode out of these characters pretty well. So I believe next week is Superstar Billy Graham. Don't know much about him.
Interesting. Yeah,
I know he had a short-lived career. He was big though when he was around. So we'll talk about that next week. This weekend is WrestleMania 41.
Yes.
And they're doing a whole bunch of stuff on Peacock, documentaries, and the big one was WrestleMania 9 becoming a spectacle. Came out last week. We watched it this past weekend. This is all footage, I guess, was lost in a vault somewhere. Was filmed for a documentary back in the 90s, which, if you know anything about wrestling before the social media took over and Triple H took over, kayfabe was big. Nobody talked outside of the wrestling business about how things happened. Stories were kept secret, kept protected. The Undertaker did not lose kayfabe until he actually retired. That's how protected a lot of these wrestlers are for the storylines, for everything, for their characters going in, especially in the 90s, was big. The whole curtain call thing, everybody knows about that with Triple H and the Clique. The reason why that had so much backlash is because they were kind of giving a nod to the fans, like, "Hey, we know this is fake, but here, let's hug the bad guy" as they leave. This documentary was great, but it would never, for all obvious reasons, it would never release in the 90s, and it released now because it's just a lot of cool stuff in it.
Yeah.
Half the people are gone, have died. All of them have retired. None of them are wrestling anymore. Bret Hart was great in this documentary. He had interviews talking about Hulk Hogan, who is always a liar in every interview, everything he's ever in. But yeah, great documentary. It's on Peacock currently. Were you watching wrestling at the time when this came out? Were you?
Yeah, I love WrestleMania 9.
You were in the 9, so I was wondering what your thoughts were.
I loved it. It was different, and they're doing this because, of course, they're in Vegas again for the first time.
They're in Vegas. They made it like a Caesar's Palace.
It was
type
interesting
of look
because they basically built the venue.
Which
was an interesting way to have a WrestleMania.
Yep. Very much set in Caesar's time. In Caesar's Palace, they had the pillars, they had the robes,
togas.
Jim Ross's first night, he was in a toga. He always complains about that on his podcast. You see him in a toga, you can tell he's pissed off. But yeah, it was a great little documentary. In a couple hours, it was pretty eye opening. Yep. Bruce Pritchard, big part of it. Of course, I think using his podcast as they've already talked about this on there ad nauseum. So no wonder he was on there. But Kevin watched a movie he's going to talk about first. He watched it at the beginning of the week called Drop. I've only heard a little bit about it, and I've seen the trailer where somebody's eating dinner, I believe, and they get airdropped something on their phone. Other than that, I don't know much more about it. I know it's a horror movie or a thriller or something.
Yeah, it's a good date night movie. I was alone in the theater for this. That was fun. But basically, this woman who about 4 years prior got out of a really bad marriage, abusive relationship, and is finally going on a first date again with Brandon Skelnar, a lot of people's choice for Batman. And seeing him in this, he is Bruce Wayne to a T. Whether they would cast somebody that's 32 years old remains to be seen, but he could pull it off. Just say my piece on that. So they're on this date, and she gets the airdrop, and he's like trying to figure out who it is because you have to be within like 50 feet or whatever to get an airdrop. Yeah. It's not an actual like airdrop. They make up the name of it because he makes a joke about how he prefers Apple's airdrop to whatever app she was using. Probably over a rights issue, I'm guessing. But yeah, so basically the whole thing is the whole movie, she's getting directions on what to do next through airdrops. And she at one point tells him that the airdrop stopped because one of the airdrops says you have to kill your date. She like goes into the bathroom to like try to figure it out and like finds out that like her table was selected for her, and there's like a microphone, so the person that is doing this can hear everything that she's saying and doing and whatnot. And this movie going in, like, it's only going to work if the third act works. The idea of this movie, the premise of this movie, and the third act gets a little creative and outlandish. But
Okay.
overall, I really did enjoy this movie. I do want you to see it when it comes out.
Yeah,
The
I'll
way
watch
things
it
are
for
going
sure.
right now.
Yep.
That could be like Tuesday.
Yep.
But I really did enjoy this film and would recommend it. Thumbs up, 3.5. I will
Awesome.
watch it again when I have the chance.
Excellent. I saw a movie before we saw the big one this week. I did see Warfare, which we've been talking about off and on. This is a follow-up to Alex Garland, I believe, who directed Civil War. This is follow-up. His next movie is 28 Days Later. I think he's producer
28
on it.
years
Later. Or maybe he's not directing it. Danny Boyle is directing it still.
he wrote it.
I believe, yeah, he wrote it. But this is his war movie set in 2006, set in Iraq or Afghanistan, I believe. I can't remember where exactly. All you need to know is in the Middle East. And it's about this group of men in Navy SEALs who are stuck in this home. The whole entire movie, hour and a half, there is in one setting. They're in this building. And they are being attacked, and they have to figure out a way out. They're calling for help from the United States Army to come get them. And hello, Kitty, I see her whiskers. They're asking for help, and people are getting hurt. Wow, the cat is Rob, right? But yeah, great movie, very intense. Some of the war scenes are some of the most gruesome I've seen in a movie like this. And of course, Saving Private Ryan is probably the worst I've ever seen. Everybody says how accurate it is. I believe this may be pretty accurate too.
Yep.
But very, very good. 4 out of 5 for me.
Nice.
And definitely recommend. Very, very good theater experience because there's a lot of surprise stuff. All of a sudden, bombs get thrown and guns go off and people are coming in through windows. It's crazy. Great story though, and Alex Garland is great for these type of movies. They brought in real Navy SEALs to do the choreography for this, which was pretty good. They showed a little scene at the end of the credits, not only showing who the characters looked like in real life, some of them being blacked out because these people must be still in the Navy SEALs, I'm guessing. But some of them did work behind the scenes and did some of the choreographed fight scenes and gunfights. So it's pretty cool. But we both went to the movies after I saw Warfare. And we saw the movie of the weekend, maybe even movie of the year. We're only 4 months in, but we'll have to wait and see. But Sinners, holy shit!
Good, I'm glad you liked it because we didn't talk about that after it was over.
One issue I have with it is we did not see it in IMAX.
Yep,
because this movie would have been
an hour away. Yeah, everyone's told me that have talked about it on my Discord. With they're all like, "You got to see it in IMAX." I'm like, bro,
the other
thing, like a travel day.
The other thing that we missed, there was an after credit scene, including the mid credit scene that we saw. We completely missed, where the main character is a brand new kid, unknown, I believe, hired for this movie. I don't even know his name, but he was brought in, and he sings in the movie, does a fantastic job, plays guitar in the movie, I believe, and he sings "This Little Light of Mine." Going into this movie, not a lot of people knew what it was about, other than the rumors that it was a vampire movie.
Right.
The history of this movie, Ryan Kluger, I saw this article that came out today, talked about Metallica's song One was a major inspiration for this movie. He wanted the movie to feel like a song, so I used Metallica's One. It starts off intense and gets melodic and going somewhere just fucking crazy towards the end. Very good depiction of how this story ended up. Started off as a 1920s, 1930s gun runner scene right out of Al Capone's Chicago. In fact, these two twins who were played by Michael B. Jordan in dual roles did work for Al Capone in Chicago, grew up in Mississippi, came back to Mississippi, and were trying to start, I don't know if they were trying to be legitimate, but they were trying to start their own like business on their own, away from all the gangster shit that they dealt with in Chicago. So they moved to Mississippi. And the whole story has a lot to do, not with religion necessarily, but sinners and I don't know if we should get into the spoilers or not. Everybody knows it's a vampire movie.
Yeah.
We've seen from the trailers that a lot of the people get turned in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it does happen. The main character, the main vampire, is the white guy in the middle of the poster. If you're watching on YouTube,
Yes.
I don't know his name, but he's
Jack O'Connell.
Jack O'Connell. Okay, first time
He
see
was
him
in-
show up on Scream.
He was in that movie. He was the guy. He was in that movie about dude being stuck on a boat for like 42 days during World War II. Where
Okay.
he's like almost like he looks nothing like that anymore because he had to lose. He was like 120 pounds when he filmed that because he was supposed to
Okay.
look like he hadn't eaten in 42 days. So
Okay. Well, he was great. The first time you see him in
Yeah.
this movie, the sun is going down, and you see him steaming. You're thinking it's steam, but it's not. If you know vampires, when they hit sun, they burn up. But the sun is going down, it's sunset, and he comes and he knocks on someone's door to let them in. It's all the vampire tropes you know from lore become a part of this story.
Yep.
Garlic, stake in the
silver.
heart,
Yep.
silver, all that stuff. And Ryan Coogler did an amazing job
Mhm.
putting that into a Mississippi 1930s time period, which was fantastic. This movie looked stunning from scene to scene. That's why I said we missed out seeing it in IMAX,
Yeah.
because it would have looked fantastic in IMAX. The sound in this was amazing. Everything coming out at you looked amazing. The whole entire movie was a must see for
Yep.
me. And best movie this year so far. I've been going between a 4.5 and a 5. I'm probably gonna stick with a 4.5. But it was really, really good. Michael B. Jordan working off of himself, incredible. You would think he really had a twin brother.
Yep.
If you were watching this, I had no idea.
Yeah, because he played them
Um,
both completely differently. He played
did,
them
for
both.
sure.
It reminded me of the Winklevi in
Yeah.
the Facebook movie because they were the same actor. And the first time I saw that, of course, I knew Michael B. Jordan going into this. I didn't know that actor. I thought it was just twins, but nope.
Haley Steinfeld, incredible in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And sets up a great sequel, which we'll get into in a minute. But I wish I knew the kid's name who plays the guitar. He is amazing. He's gonna be a
He's
star
really
from this
good.
movie.
Yeah.
And I think it has to be him really singing and playing guitar. I'm guessing because he was incredible in this movie.
Yep.
The music in this movie was great. There was a scene where, the way this is kind of depicted, that music can bring out a lot of inner soul.
Mm-hmm.
And also can bring back soul from the past and the future. And there's one scene where he's playing in this barn that these twins have bought, and they're kind of throwing a shindig in this barn.
Mm-hmm.
And he's playing, and his music is so soulful that not only does it bring out visions of the past that people can't really see, but it's kind of like just like bringing it out of him. But you see people from the past dancing, but you also see people from the future dancing. And you see somebody in the DJ table in the barn. You see it's just kind of the way it was depicted was really, really cool looking. I see some beatboxing. Well, wow, beatboxing. You see a whole bunch of cool stuff. But yeah, really, really cool movie. 4.5 out of 5 for me, and it definitely sets up a sequel. There was a mid-credit scene.
Yep.
You find out there were a couple survivors. And I don't want to get into the spoilers of it. It was really, really cool how it was depicted. Buddy Guy, I believe he is a. I forgot. I thought he passed away, but he was the cameo at the end.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into more than that, but very, very cool.
Yeah. I give it a
very
5.
good. Yeah.
It was almost perfect in my eyes.
Yeah, I was between a 4.5 and a 5, and probably if I saw it again, it may be a 5. So,
Yeah.
Very, very good. Year of Superman. We are just a few months away from Superman. In fact, we got something we're going to talk about today that came out, but not a trailer. We haven't seen a new trailer yet.
Nope.
But we did get a little behind the scenes thing we'll talk about later. But Superman 2 came out in 1980. We talked about it a little bit when we talked about Superman 1, but this was filmed right at the same time as Superman 1. Filming got so chaotic that they canceled the filming with Richard Donner in the middle of it and hired Richard Lester, I believe, his name, to come in and finish the filming, take over the directing duties, and change the story a little bit. And we'll get into that right now. This is a direct continuation of the first film, picked up right where it left off. The original concept of this movie, the original concept of everything was, actually, we'll get into that when we talk about the Donner cut. But there was a lot of studio interferences with the Salkinds. Richard Donner ended up getting fired between the movies right after Superman 1 came out in the theaters. And the Salkinds, they had a big falling out with him. They ended up hiring Richard Donner to finish it. He directed Richard Lester directed Hard Day's Night, Help, a couple Beatles movies, and he ended up directing Superman 3, which we'll talk about probably next week or the week after.
Mm-hmm.
He was brought in during Donner's shoot to ease the tensions during the time, because it was pretty bad when they were filming Superman 1 and 2 back to back. Brought him in. Salkinds were trying to ease the tensions between the Salkinds and Donner. He became the second unit director and an uncredited associate producer at the time. This is what they look like. Richard Donner on the left, Lester on the right. Donner ended up filming 75% before they abandoned the second film to finish the first film, because it was already delayed. It needed to come out. When he was fired and they hired Richard Lester, a lot of the cast and a lot of the crew refused to return for reshoots to film this new version of the movie that was going to be coming out. Gene Hackman being one of them. He refused to return, showing loyalty to Richard Donner. A stunt double was brought in, voice impersonator, to film and overdub scenes that Gene Hackman had already filmed from Richard Donner's film. And after Donner's firing, several other actors and crew members, I know, Warren Beatty. There's a few other ones that refused to come back. The big one, hold on. Also, in order for Richard Lester to be officially credited for director, the decision was made for Lester to reshoot most of the second film. So they decided that they were going to just have him reshoot scenes completely. 2 days after the first film's release, the other big missing piece of this movie was Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando sued the Salkinds for $50 million, claiming that he never received a percentage of the first film's gross. Filed a restraining order to prevent use of his likeness from the second movie, which was denied in court. However, he was granted $15 million. And because of this, the Salkinds announced that they were removing all of Brando's scenes that were already filmed under Richard Donner, and they were going to bring in a new actor to play Jor-El, and that was going to prevent the initial back end that he was going to be getting from the second movie. They wanted to stop that. Because of this setback, Superman's mom became the mentor of this movie. She was the one that was in the Forces of Solitude, Lara. She motherly influence. And yeah, we'll talk about that more in the Donner cut in a minute. But Christopher Reeves took a filming of Somewhere in Time. Just talked about it a couple of months ago. During the hiatus, when everything was going on, changing of the directors, he was initially unavailable. The Salkinds sued Christopher Reeves, telling it was breach of contract, making him return. With a little bit more creative input during the contract negotiations, he became more hands-on with the story, and especially after he was uneasy with Lester being hired. He felt the script was weak, and he was still upset about Donner being fired. So he had a little bit more input because of that, a little bit more pull. Most of the main cast did return or had footage used from the Donner shoot, but the big story of this was Terrence Stamp coming in playing Zod, having two henchmen, Ursa and Non. Zod is a Kryptonian criminal, and Ursa and Non are characters created for this film, debuted in the comics in 2007, so they were used later on. General Zod debuted in Action Adventure Comics number 283 in 1961, which was a Superboy story. That's it right there. And Zod used robots that were kind of like Bizarro robots to infiltrate Kryptonian stuff. So yeah, he was a part of it. He wasn't a big part of it though. There were other Kryptonians that were bigger, but this movie made Zod a star. And of course, Michael Shannon becoming Zod later on, decades later. But after the film's release, the comics began to adapt Terrence Stamp's look. So Zod, after the movie came out, started looking more like Terrence Stamp with the goatee, the beard, and everything. A lot of Donner's big budget scenes ended up being used. They didn't want to spend more money in the budget because the budget was already low because of the 2-year gap in filming. A lot of noticeable continuity differences were throughout. Styling, hair, makeup, Reeves' physique. Reeves looked bulked up in the first movie. By the second one, he lost a lot of weight. Margot Kidder's hair color changed throughout the movie a bunch of times.
Yep.
John Williams also did refuse to return for this movie too. He was originally slated to do the second movie. He was given a screening by Isla Salkind and Richard Lester. And when Salkind left production room, Williams and Lester fell into an argument. And Salkind returned, and Williams told him that he could not get along with this man, and he dropped out of the second movie. The music in the second movie is terrible, not as good. They brought in
not nearly as good. Yeah.
The studio always pushed the films to be campy. Donner pushed against it. Lester caved into the executives, and you saw scenes like this: Superman throwing the cellophane Superman emblem, not a part of the comics at all. This is something that was created for this movie. And everybody laughs at that. The other thing that he created was this very last scene in the movie where Superman kisses Lois and wipes her memory. Not a part of the comics at all. So, yeah, a lot of tension there. Cashing in on the hype, WB turned to advertising deals for this movie as well. You saw a lot of Coca-Cola ads, Kentucky Fried Chicken. Marlboro was all over this movie. Cigarettes, everybody was smoking them. There were ads and billboards and trucks. Movie had $54 million budget and made $216 million. Still great for the time. $260 million in the box office, pretty good. And that brings us up about 2 decades to 2006. Superman Returns was being filmed by Bryan Singer. We're going to talk about in a little while, a couple months. But the WB decided that this is after Marlon Brando had passed, that they got the estate's rights to use the late actor's footage from Superman that was lost, that Salkind decided not to use because of the lawsuit. And they reached out to Richard Donner after they had the rights to this footage and said, "Would you come in and finish your film and your vision?" And he said, "Sure, I'll come in my intended vision of the film and I will film it." So the Richard Donner cut was born because of that. It came out in 2006. The big difference of this is, number one, Marlon Brando is the big missing link of this movie. He was the mentor in the Fortress of Solitude. The intro retells Superman 1. The original ending of Superman 1 was instead of the time travel where he goes around the Earth, Superman was going to knock one of the nukes into space, and the nuke was going to release the Phantom Zone in the beginning of the first movie, in the second movie. The time travel happens in the second movie to erase Lois' memory instead of the kiss that happened. Eiffel Tower, the whole entire scene from the movie. There was an Eiffel Tower scene in the Richard Lester version, completely removed. That was not part of Donner's vision. The sound effects and music was changed in the Donner cut. I think they brought in a lot of the John Williams score back. Special effects were added to it as well. Staying to the 1980s standard. In other words, they didn't use too much CGI. It was more practical effects, camera tricks, film tricks, and stuff to make like Jor-El and the coming out of the Fortress of Solitude as a hologram and stuff. The pacing of the story, the movie was shorter by about 15 minutes. It felt better. And Lois figures out that he's Superman in the first 2 minutes of the film. That's the other thing. Big noticeable thing. The other thing is the Niagara Falls scene where he's fully revealed as Superman. They used a screen test. I do have a picture of that here of Lois shooting him with a gun. Donner did not have a chance to film this. This is part of the 25% he didn't get to film. So they used a screen test, which he loved. And I think it worked great the way they did it, but it showed Lois shooting Clark to test her theory that he was Superman. And of course, the bullet bounced off of him. But, and Jor-El was added back to the Fortress footage, adding the biggest needed change overall to the narrative. It was great. Leading to the climax, Jor-El uses the rest of his essence to reinstate Superman's powers instead of going back into the chamber and everything that happened. But yeah, that's Jor-El. He actually has a scene with Christopher Reeves. This looked really cool. Let me scroll a little bit here. And Mount Rushmore was replaced by the villain's faces in the Richard Lester version. In this version, the scene was replaced with the destruction of the Washington Monument. Also, there was a scene where Superman is being thrown when he's fighting Zod in Metropolis. He's being thrown through a building. He's being thrown in the Donner Cut through the Statue of Liberty. They actually had a Statue of Liberty set. Superman gets thrown into it, and it looked really, really cool. I'm glad they put it back in the Donner Cut. And the original time travel ending, they placed it back in its original place at the end of the second movie. Repaired all the destruction caused by Zod, put him back in the Phantom Zone. Also, Lois forgets that Clark is Superman, and everything's back to normal without an awkward kiss. So, did a lot for the movie, did a lot for the story arc, and I'm not sure. I think for me, I mean, it's the better movie, definitely story wise. And a lot. I wish they didn't fuck with Donner, and I wish the '70s could have finished to his own vision.
Right.
Overall, great depiction of the story. And we'll get into Superman 3, 4, and Supergirl maybe even next week if I can watch them this weekend.
Okay.
We do have WrestleMania coming up, so I'm not sure what I'm going to get into because there's 2 nights of WrestleMania this week. But yeah, there's a big mess in the '80s after this movie came out.
Yeah.
And Superman didn't come back for another 15 years. That's how bad it was. So. And we're on the road to Fantastic Four. And I want to talk a little bit about it. First comic came out in 1961. Fantastic Four #1. The comic book that I was supposed to read this week, by the way, I did not finish. I only had time to read the first one. We'll get into it a little bit. The Coming of Galactus, but first major release after Timely Comics became Marvel. Essentially making them Marvel's first family, which everybody's heard that before. The Fantastic Four being called the first family of Marvel. And the characters are kind of tongue-in-cheek of what their abilities are of who they are in real life. Reed Richards stretches himself thin with doing too many things for science. So, of course, when he gets the radiation, he becomes a stretchy man. Johnny has a childlike hot temper, so he ends up, when he gets powers, becomes a big firing Human Torch. Sue Storm has a shy personality, so in order to hide herself from being her shyness, she becomes invisible. And Ben Grimm has a rock hard exterior, but has a kind soul underneath, so when he gets all the rock underneath him, he becomes the Thing. And he ends up dating a blind girl named Alicia Masters. Little bit I didn't know until I did the research of this. I should have realized it, but her adopted stepfather was the Puppet Master. Alicia in the comic books did not have a last name until I think like maybe a decade later. They actually gave her the last name Master because her stepfather was Puppet Master. It was something that happened a decade later, but she's blind in the comic books and the movies going forward. Ends up being his girlfriend and wife later on, but yeah, we'll talk about her a little bit more in a minute. But I do have a picture of what Puppet Master looks like and what Alicia looked like with her debut in the comics. And also the big debut of this was Victor Von Doom, which I don't want to get too much into Von Doom. We're going to talk about him probably a year from now, but yeah, that was a big part of the Fantastic Four. He's the main villain and became a huge villain for Marvel. But I did watch Roger Corman's Fantastic Four, which is the big thing I want to talk about this week. This came out in 1994. The big story about this movie was it was a movie that Roger Corman wanted to make to keep the rights of the movie. It was never. Everybody says it was never meant to be released. That's why it was so campy looking, so TV movie looking. TV movie of the week. It looked really, really bad. Everything about it was pretty bad. But it was the first time a Marvel big budget movie had been made. Not a lot of big stars, a couple of people, familiar people, but not a lot of big stars at all. But I do have a picture of the cast here. There's a great documentary. I can't remember what the name of it's called, but it's a documentary about the making of this movie. It's really, really good. I recommend that. But yeah, Dr. Doom was a part of it. Victor Von Doom. Victor was a scientist that worked with Reed Richards. Ended up getting this weird stuff going on and turned him into this Dr. Doom. We'll get into that more next year, like I said. But There's supposed to be Mole Man in this movie. They changed him into another character. I don't know who he is. Alicia Master was part of this, Ben Grimm's girlfriend. In the middle there, you see the actor who played Ben Grimm, and that's the thing there. You see the final version of the Human Torch, which shows up at the end of the movie with early CGI. And you see the team there. You see Reed and Sue get married at the very end, and he waves goodbye out of the top of the limo, which was the craziest, campiest looking thing I've ever seen. It reminded me of a bad 90s, 80s TV show.
Yep.
And everybody after this movie was made, they ended up putting it in a vault. There's like nobody's watching this movie. Ended up being leaked online when the internet first started, and went crazy during Comic-Con circuits. Everybody was passing it around, so it became a viral sensation underground. And then when the internet became big and everything got passed around, it became a huge cult phenomenon. But and then we got the Tim Story one is a decade later, which we'll talk about in a couple weeks. But I did want to mention the first issue of Galactus, the Galactus trilogy. I did read that. And the coming of Galactus is a big deal. It's been depicted in the movies. It's going to be depicted in the next movie. But the first, I have a couple of pictures here. This is the first picture of Silver Surfer coming. And you see the scene there with the sky burning. That's Uatu the Watcher makes it so the Silver Surfer can't find Earth, so he creates a fire in the sky. He also creates rocks around the Earth so the Silver Surfer can't find him. While the Silver Surfer ends up finding him, that's Uatu there trying to protect Earth. Silver Surfer does come to Earth and calls for Galactus. The picture on the right there, if you're watching on YouTube, that's a picture of the sphere that Galactus travels the universe, and that's him going into the Earth's atmosphere. And this is the very first time you see Galactus in the comic books, different than what you see, the purple that you see in Galactus nowadays. But this is what he looked like in the very first ending of the first issue. I did want to bring that up. I'll probably read the next two and talk about it a little bit next week. But yeah, really cool. Speaking of the Fantastic Four, let's get into the news. And it's not news time, it's a trailer roundup. Big trailer this week was Fantastic Four. We figured maybe today we would get a Superman trailer. We'll talk about what we did get in a minute. But yeah, brand new poster, brand new trailer. Got some shots of the trailer we're going to talk about a little by little. First of all, this is a character poster that Pedro Pascal posted yesterday when the trailer came out. Johnny Storm in the trailer holding a cereal box with a picture of him from a comic book cover from the 60s. Almost exactly. We can see the Fantastic car in full display there. We see them in their suits. Looks really, really cool. We see the Thing carrying a boat, and everybody's saying, didn't Snyder already do that with Superman? Speaking of Superman, we see a picture of him holding a bug above his head, also picking something that Superman did in the past. So
I don't even want to talk about Twitter right now with these two images.
Yes. And we see Johnny Storm following the Silver Surfer into space, and we see the first glimpse of the female Silver Surfer, Shalla-Bal. A lot of people complaining about it. It is definitely not as good as the Tim Story Silver Surfer. I have no care that she's female at all, but I was hoping the CGI would be a little bit better. Maybe it will be by the end, but we'll have to wait and see. We see the first time Mr. Fantastic stretches, doing stretchy things, and we see Galactus's foot. That's all we saw for Galactus in this trailer. But yeah, decent trailer though. I'm looking forward to this movie in a couple months, so we'll talk about it then. Got a brand new trailer for the Sandman Season 2. Looks great. Coming out in 2 volumes. July 3rd is the first volume, and July 24th is the second volume. And this will be it for the show. I was going to say,
wasn't this canceled?
Was canceled because of everything with Neil Gaiman. So unfortunately, I love the first season, so I'm hoping they do a great job with the second. Got a brand new trailer for Life of Chuck, starring Tom Hiddleston, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Karen Gillan, and Mark Hamill. That's him right there. And looks like a white wig and glasses and a mustache and everything, looking like an old man. He is old, but looks even older. Brand new trailer for 28 years later. Looks great. First look at the character there, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. Looks pretty good. I gotta watch this movie when this comes out. So yeah. Minecraft movie made another $80 million in the second weekend. Remained at number one. Still pretty big for a second week.
Yeah.
Number two, Kings of Kings, 19 million. The Amateur, 15 million. So yeah, big box office weekend for them. I think Sinners is probably going to be taking number one this week. We'll have to wait and see. But we didn't talk about it last week, but the fucking Minecraft movie and all these people, these kids going there
throwing chickens.
Oh my god, what a mess! I'd hate to be working in a movie theater now.
No kidding.
Rest in peace to Wink Martindale. If you grew up in the 80s and 90s, you probably saw him playing Tic-Tac-Toe or High Rollers or Gambit. He was a game show host back in like Game Show Network, even way back before that. But I think I must have saw him a lot in syndication back in the day. But I do remember Wink. Rest in peace to him. George R.R. Martin. There's no doubt Winds of Winter is 13 years late. I'm still working on it, said George R.R. Martin in a recent interview. Saying that finishing the Curse of Winds of Winter is a curse of my life. Just wanted to bring that up to you, Kevin.
Thanks, pal.
The Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon series is now in the works at Amazon. Never saw the original movie. I know it's big and it's acclaimed for the special effects and everything. But yeah. Speaking of Amazon, Pacific Rim also getting a TV series from Legendary. Going to be on Amazon for development. Mythic Quest on Apple TV. You ever watch an episode of Mythic Quest? I never did.
It's pretty good.
Rob McElhenney has been canceled.
Yep.
Season 4, I believe finale comes out this week, or it already has come out, and or next week. And they had to update and they filmed a new ending to it to close out the story. I guess it left off with kind of a cliffhanger. They're going to end the story, but never seen an episode of it. I love McElhenney. I love It's Always Sunny. So yeah. Speaking of Always Sunny, season 17 will premiere on July 9th on FXX. It will include the second half of the Abbott Elementary crossover. So. Tommy Davidson. He was in Living Color, but he was also in Martin. He played a role of Vernell Hill, and they're going to be doing a spinoff on BET of Martin, of all things, starring Tommy Davidson coming back to the character. He played the night shift of the radio station. He's going to be coming back playing that character as a late night talk show host. I don't know if Martin's going to be showing up in that or not. It's weird, but yeah. Twisted Metal season 2 is going to be premiering on July 31st on Peacock. Anthony Mackie coming back, Samoa Joe coming back as a clown. Yeah. Clueless getting a sequel series with Alicia Silverstone.
Why?
Peacock. No idea why. She's gonna be coming back as Cher. Yeah. New poster for, I know you like this show, Perfect Face, that's why I'm bringing it up. Ryan Johnson, of course, coming out on a new season on May 8th. Got some brand new pictures for Dexter. We got Dexter, we got Uma Thurman, we got Dexter in New York City. We got Harrison. We got Harrison talking to somebody. Looks like a police. I don't know who that is. We got Batista. We got what's his name?
Peter Dinklage.
Little short. Yeah, Peter Dink, the Dink. And we got oh shit, phone mount's falling off. We got Dexter and his father there. Which, yeah, so really cool.
Can't wait.
Cannot wait. Comes out in just a couple months. I saw this. I'm not even going to talk about it because I didn't see it anywhere else but the Street Fighter movie. Got a brand new poster for Ballerina. This comes out on June 6th. Poster looked really cool. Lance Reddick's in that, so his last role is going to be in this. There's going to be a horror adaptation of Aladdin coming out.
Of course there is.
And it's called The Monkey Paw.
Jesus Christ.
It's going to be a Middle Eastern folklore and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, we're getting production next month. Sam Neill from Jurassic Park has been cast in the next Godzilla vs. Kong movie. I thought he had cancer, but maybe he's doing well. I don't know.
Yep.
Officially got the new cast for the Harry Potter TV series of Who's Playing Who. This was pretty much already known, but John Lithgow is confirmed as Albus Dumbledore, Janet McTeer, Minerva McGonagall, Papa Zedidou as Severus Snape, and Nick Frost as Rubius Hagrid. So, yeah, they had a couple other guys I don't know about. Nintendo Switch US pre-orders have been rescheduled for next week on the 24th. Price is going to remain the same. They were saying that they weren't going to raise the price even with the tariffs. However, some of the accessories are going to rise up in price, and I don't know which ones, but yeah, it's kind of a mess. Announcing that right before. Last night, I had no idea I knew the Star Wars Celebration was this weekend, but I had no idea they were going to be announcing some new movies.
Yep.
And Starfighter coming out May 28th, 2027. This is going to be directed by Sean Levy and starring Ryan Gosling, who came out on stage at Celebration in Tokyo talking about the movie. Set 5 years after Rise of Skywalker, not connected to that movie whatsoever. A whole other part of the universe, whole other character, probably maybe some cameos, but it's not going to be any part of the Skywalker saga at all. Beginning of the week, Mikey Madsen, the rumors came out that she passed on this project, and then this movie was announced last night. So we got some brand new pictures of the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, including Sigourney Weaver coming in this movie, playing looks like a rebel fighter of some sort. And we got some more pictures of Din Djarin and Baby Yoda, and there's a great scene there saying that Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian go into at Walker, and there's a whole like scene of them going in and fighting stormtroopers. It looked really, really cool. They talked about. You also got a picture of some of the guys from Rebels coming in. I can't remember his name, but he's going to be a part of it. And the character there is the son of Jabba the Hutt, played by Jeremy Allen White.
Yeah,
he's all bulked up version of Jabba the Hutt. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. But brand new animated movie, TV show coming on Disney Plus, I believe. Maul Shadow Lord, set before Rebels, showing Darth Maul, Sam Witwer coming back to play him, showing him with trying to get an apprentice and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it looked pretty cool. I want to talk about that a little bit. I'm not sure if this is real or not, but this is the only Marvel news that came out this week. Is a picture of. Actually, I have some more Star Wars. We'll get into this. It's a picture of Ian McKellen and Cyclops. The Cyclops talking to Wong. I'm not sure if this is real.
I think it was debunked. I think it was from
Okay.
a previous movie or
That's
something.
what I thought too. Star Wars trilogy is still confirmed to be in the works from Simon Kinberg. Films by James Mangold and Taika Waititi are still in the works. Whenever
Sure
they have
they are.
time. Right. Disney is releasing 2 POV videos on May 4th for Rise of the Resistance and Galaxy's Edge from Disney World. Those are going to be coming out on Disney Plus. Tony Gilroy says that Lucasfilm has a Star Wars horror project in the works. Have to wait and see on that as well. Delroy Lindo, who was in Sinners, we just watched him, says his Blade character would have had a Marcus Garvey-esque component. He was a character who had very similar to Sinners, created a community, a black community. He was a character who was ahead of this community. He was great in.
He was awesome. Yeah.
He played the old guy. If you do see the movie, he played the old guy that was in the barn who played the piano. He was really, really good. Then we get some swag to talk about.
Swag. Stuff we all get.
Come on, son. You know that's right.
The only reason I'm bringing this up is because it's awesome, because it's exactly what the figures from our childhood looked like. This is a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figure, pop figure
Yep.
from the 80s. Looks exactly like it. The orange weapons and everything. Daredevil Born Again figures, pop figures coming out. We got Bullseye, we got Daredevil, we also got Kingpin and Punisher. This one I gotta get Spider-Man the symbiote half face. There's a glow-in-the-dark version of that as well. But the big stuff came out today and this week was Superman. This is a Superman Hallmark ornament coming out. Not sure when it's coming out. Probably this summer. Usually come out about July is when they start showing up in stores. This is a full-size figure, I believe, in Japan. And you can go in front of it and look at it. But this is a full-size Superman with Crypto figure.
Yep.
But today these were the McFarlane figures that were announced, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Superman Day was today. The beginning of it was talking about these McFarlane figures. We see, of course, Superman and Crypto there. This is the first figure that was announced. We see Lex Luthor. We see Mr. Terrific. We see what's his name? What's that guy's name? I can't remember off the top of my head.
The robot.
What was the robot?
Metamorpho.
Metamorpho. Yep. We see brand new figures for them. We see a brand new figure for the Kaiju fighting Superman. This comes out sometime this year. These are all on pre-order for McFarlane.
He's got like his stomach opens and there's like that goo stuff that we used to get from the vending machine, like inside.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
That's why it says like whatever Kaiju and goo or whatever it says.
We got brand new pop figures for the movie. Look really, really cool, especially the ones where Superman's flying. Look really cool. And Krypto all look awesome. And we got some first look shots that came out earlier this week. One of them was for Collider Magazine. The other one, James Gunn released when he was talking about Jimmy Olsen. And today, the behind the scenes Superman came out. And it looked really good. It wasn't a trailer, but it was great behind the scenes footage. Showed Corn Sweat looking the best version of Superman I've seen so far. Looking like he can actually embody the character. There's some pictures of him behind the scenes. Him with Lex Luthor, Metamorpho.
Metamorpho looks so comic accurate.
Yeah,
Hawk
crazy. Girl looks awesome. This is with James Gunn with the.
She's in
core.
You know, she's in The Last of Us. I think she plays.
No idea.
She's Dini.
Oh, I like her too.
Yeah.
There's some pictures of Lois Lane, Lois and Clark, and another picture of Superman. He just looks great in that picture. I love that picture of him. But yeah, no trailer, but we did get a great first look of the character.
Yeah.
We'll be getting a trailer sooner rather than later. But surprisingly, that's it for the show. I thought we'd be going a little bit longer today, but next week got a lot to talk about. WrestleMania 41 tomorrow night and Sunday. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the big match on Sunday with Cena and Cody Rhodes. Mobland episode 4. If you have a chance to watch Mobland, it's really good. The Studio episode 6, great. We're gonna watch that. Last of Us episode 2 on Sunday. Celtic City penultimate episode 8 on Wednesday or Tuesday, I think it comes out, or Monday. Dark Side of the Ring episode 5, Superstar Billy Graham. We're gonna watch The Babe from 1992 for a baseball movie. And the Year of Superman, we're gonna probably do 3 Superman and Superman 4, A Quest for Keys. And Luther, I know you read that comic book. I'm gonna try to read it this week.
It's good. It's very good.
Is it a short book? Or is it
you'll finish that. I think it took less than an hour.
Okay, then we'll definitely do it.
On the dialogue from my recollection. That's the problem is you pick up a comic book and you're like, oh, I can rip through this one quick, and then you're like, I've been reading this one page of dialogue for like 10 minutes.
I was surprised. That's why I didn't finish the Galactus trilogy, because there's a lot of Stan Lee dialogue. But we'll talk about all that stuff next week. Thank you, everyone, and peace out.
Deuces.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you, talking all things geeky, from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you wanna be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Geek Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds, rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blurred. Join us each week for a geeky chat, with the latest scoop and a dose of nostalgia that. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi and all its maze, tune in to Geek Blurb, we're here to entertain.